From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, December the 11th, 2017. An Israeli security guard was seriously injured in a terror attack this weekend in Jerusalem. 46-year-old Asher El-Maliach was checking people through security at the entrance to the city's central bus station when a 24-year-old Palestinian man attacked him. Police foreign spokesman Micky Rosenfeld gave an account at the scene shortly after the incident.
Here at the central bus station a short while ago, one Palestinian terrorist, a 24-year-old, took a knife and stabbed the private security guard who was injured seriously. He was rushed to hospital and is now being treated in serious condition. The suspect himself tried to make his way down the road. He was immediately arrested by other security personnel, and the suspect is a 24-year-old Palestinian who's being questioned right now. We're looking to see how he arrived in the area. We have the knife, which was in fact picked up on the street where we are, and our main emphasis is to heighten security and continue making sure there are no further terrorist attacks in and around Jerusalem this afternoon.
According to Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center, the injured security guard was hit in the heart when he was stabbed and remains unconscious in the intensive care unit, but the hospital did say this morning that they had been able to stabilize him while he was still in critical condition. More rockets were fired at Israel from Gaza late Friday night, landing in the town of Sderot. One of the rockets hit and damaged a kindergarten, which was unoccupied at the time. The IDF retaliated, hitting terror targets in the Gaza Strip. And at the time of this report today, additional rockets were launched from Gaza at Israel. They all landed in open areas, and no damage or injury was reported. Meanwhile, yesterday, the IDF discovered and demolished another terror tunnel reaching from Gaza into Israel. Just about 6 weeks ago, if you recall, the IDF destroyed a similar tunnel. Both were built with the intention of being used for kidnapping Israelis. IDF spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus spoke of yesterday's events.
Just a few hours ago, the IDF discovered and dismantled yet another terror tunnel that was being dug by Palestinian terrorist organizations towards the state of Israel. This second tunnel, the second one in a month and a half, was built in the central part of the Gaza Strip and aimed to terror Israeli civilians and probably to abduct civilians into the Gaza Strip. The tunnel was detected and dismantled by the IDF using new and advanced technologies. Our message to the Hamas terrorist organization, which rules the Gaza Strip and is responsible for everything that happens there, is that the IDF will not tolerate any acts of aggression or violation of Israeli sovereignty. The IDF will continue to defend in the air, at sea, on the ground, and below ground any attempts by the Hamas and other terrorist organizations to violate its sovereignty or to attack Israeli civilians.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu concluded a two-day trip to Europe today. This morning, the Prime Minister visited the headquarters of the European Union in Brussels, Belgium, the first time in 22 years that an Israeli Prime Minister visited the EU. Netanyahu was greeted by EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini, and he spoke of the recent recognition by the United States of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, saying it was not a stumbling block to peace, but would help to achieve peace.
Jerusalem is Israel's capital. No one can deny it. It doesn't obviate peace. It makes peace possible because recognizing reality is the substance of peace. It's the foundation of peace.
Mogherini addressed the U.S. recognizing Jerusalem as well, saying that the EU would not follow suit.
And we will continue to respect the international consensus on Jerusalem until the final status of the Holy City is resolved through direct negotiations between the parties, and we hope that the parties can engage in meaningful direct negotiations with the support of the international community.
Yesterday, Netanyahu was in Paris, where he met with French President Emanuel Macron, who said that the Jerusalem recognition was, quote, contrary to international law and dangerous for the peace process, unquote. Netanyahu spoke of how Jerusalem was the capital of Israel, just as Paris is the capital of France, and stated later that while he and Macron don't agree on everything, the discussions they had, which included issues such as the threat from Iran and the fight against terror, were positive ones. And Netanyahu also commented on threatening remarks made today by Turkish President Recep Erdogan against the Jerusalem recognition. Erdogan said with their decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the United States has become a partner in this bloodshed. Netanyahu said he would not be lectured about morality from the Turkish leader who has committed atrocities in his own country and helps terrorists in other countries. And protests against the U.S. recognition continue today in the West Bank and Gaza, as well as outside of Israel. In Lebanon, tens of thousands of supporters of terror group Hezbollah took to the streets in Beirut. And in Germany, demonstrations including anti-Semitic slogans and the burning of Israeli flags took place in Berlin. German government spokesman Steven Seibert told reporters that while Germany opposed the U.S. action, it strongly condemned the messages of hate. Seibert said one has to be ashamed when hatred of Jews is put on display so openly on the streets of German cities. Police in Sweden have tightened security near Jewish sites after an attack on a synagogue this weekend. On Saturday night, masked assailants in the city of Gothenburg hurled burning objects at a synagogue where people were inside for an event. The building did not catch on fire and no one was hurt. Malmo synagogue Rabbi Moshe David HaCohen and Muslim leader Imam Sheikh Meir released a joint statement after the incident, saying we do not accept any form of anti-Semitism or aggression against Jews in Malmo, in the same way that we do not accept any form of racism or discrimination. And Sweden's Prime Minister Stefan Löfven condemned the attack as well, saying there was no place for anti-Semitism in Swedish society. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, December the 11th at 7, it's The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth. At 7:30, author and scholar David Kaufman talks about the impact of Jewish celebrity on Jewish identity in a program of the Jewish International Connection, New York. At 9, it's part 1 of Mark Golub's Sit Down with Peter, Paul, and Mary's Peter Yarrow on L'chaim, and at 10, remarks from actor and writer Alan Zweibel from the 92nd Street Y. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, it's One-on-One with Alan Dershowitz. And that's the JBS News Update from Monday, December the 11th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader.